Hey friends, how are you? Happy Wednesday to you. We are halfway through our week. How exciting is that? Such a great reminder of how fast time goes, that here we are and it's Wednesday already, and it's Wellness Wednesday. So I love the opportunity to take some time out of my day and share a little bit from my heart to yours on everything wellness, and perhaps something that I have learned in my travels of health, being on a health journey and working in the direction of progress rather than perfection, can help come alongside someone else and perhaps help make their journey a little bit easier, and perhaps work in the direction of a little bit more healing. So glad to have you all on. Hi Sue, hi Dawn, hi Gil, Kelsey. I'm very open about my faith life, and I often pray about what my topic is going to be on Wednesday, and I want to make sure that I steward my time with you well, and so I want to make sure it's something that God can use. And so today's topic, I'm going to be talking about some C letter words. I'm going to be talking about cortisol and carbohydrates and candida. These are all topics that impact most of us on a regular basis, that can take away from our quality of optimal wellness. So I'm going to talk real briefly about each of those subjects, and then perhaps how you can work toward a little bit more positive direction with those. Hi Faith, hi Elena. If you're not familiar with our adrenal glands, we have these two glands that sit on top of our kidneys, and they secrete a hormone called cortisol. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the cortisol hormone, and it's that flight or fight hormone that gets released when we encounter extreme stress, or when we get frightened, or sometimes we wake up in the middle of the night from a scary dream and our heart's a pumping, our adrenaline's going. That's that whole flight or fight hormone that happens. It's our body's way of protecting itself. But unfortunately, a lot of us are operating at very high rates of being what's called adrenaline dominant. And because of that, when that hormone is secreted, it also taxes, it taxes our adrenal glands, which then, when our adrenals are constantly overworked from the stress and that cortisol hormone, we then end up in a position where it begins to compromise other powerful aspects of our body, like our thyroid gland. A lot of times when we've got too much adrenaline dominance in our body, then it shuts down our thyroid, which is a powerful hormone for a lot of different things for optimal wellness, both men and women. Hey Kayla, hey Dana, hey Mindy. So it's important that we make sure that we kind of keep that dominance down in our body, and how that can wreak havoc on our body. If we're not sleeping well, our adrenal glands are going. If we're not sleeping well, if we have a high amount of caffeine coming into our body's coping mechanism for that stimulation is that it taxes our adrenal glands. And then, of course, high stress. And if we're high stress throughout our day, we're not getting awesome sleep at night, and then that's even more stressful. So we want to make sure that we keep hey Judy, we keep that at bay in our bodies. So a couple of ways that we can do that is to keep our blood sugar consistently balanced via plant-based is really helpful for that. Filling in our gaps with good omegas, especially to help us sleep at night. Omegas have really demonstrated benefit to help decrease with anxiety and stress specifically. I take a plant-based omega at nighttime, and that calms my body so much so that when I wake up, I'm refreshed, but then also my sleep is like a teenager in the month of July, which is pretty awesome if you think about it, because 85% of our society reports that they can't get through their day without feeling sluggish, and that correlation is very closely tied into the fact that we're not sleeping super awesome. And of course, Starbucks is a billion-dollar industry for a reason, because we're just not sleeping well. So we don't sleep well, we get up, our bodies are fighting that constant adrenaline. So make sure you work to keep that blood sugar consistently balanced with a predominantly more plant-based diet, and fill in that gap at nighttime with some great omegas that will be super helpful. And anything that you can do to cut back on the absolute need for caffeine will also put your body in a better position where it's not super stressed. Hey Liz. The other topic, the other C, is that of carbohydrates. We are definitely a society that is very carbohydrate driven. Now, carbohydrates can be done right, they can be done healthy, but really it's those refined carbs that are super unhealthy for us, because they put, well, carbohydrates break down into sugar, and that sugar also wears on our pancreas, and our pancreas is very powerful, because when it's overtaxed, basically, then we're putting our body in a position where we're becoming insulin resistant, and then once your pancreas stops working, then you become diabetic. And so it's important that we make sure that we're not putting our body in a position where we're allowing our organs to do their job, what they're there to do. Carbohydrate intake has a lot to do with a physiological component. A lot of times it's where, just by the fact that the more we intake of carbohydrates, the more our body wants, which kind of ties into the next topic of the third C, which is Candida. So these two kind of go hand in hand. We are born with a natural yeast in our body. It's called Candida. Unfortunately, Candida is fed by carbohydrates, it's fed by sugar, it's fed by alcohol, and so we end up with this imbalance of the good to bad bacteria within our digestive system. When we're there, the condition is called dysbiosis, which means we've got more bad guys than we do good guys. So we want to make sure that we work toward keeping that balance healthy, because the more you feed yeast, it's kind of like a Pac-Man. It's got this, the more you feed it, the more it wants. And then even simultaneously too, when you go to get it in balance, a lot of times it panics when you stop feeding that yeast, and it really gets a big wide mouth and it wants even more. So you can starve out yeast through nutrition, simply by not giving that yeast what feeds it, and then it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. I really promote antifungal properties and keeping a regular antifungal in the body. There's a lot of natural antifungal properties out there, natural antifungal enzymes. I use a really great probiotic that has a combination of the good bacteria and then also those antifungal enzymes to simultaneously kill off those bad guys. Hey Julia. So it's super, super important that we keep this balance appropriate. The proper balance is about 85% good guys to about 15% bad guys. Believe it or not, we do have to have a healthy balance of the good to the bad, but we really need that balance to be more good than the bad guys. So what happens though, once we have a proliferative amount of Candida yeast in our body, we end up with where it's perforating holes in our intestinal linings, and that creates what's called hyperpermeability. We call it leaky gut, is a phrase I'm sure you hear thrown around these days. Leaky gut is basically that, exactly it. That Candida yeast perforates holes in our intestinal walls, and then our gut is leaking into our body. And what's in our gut? It's our waste. And so then our waste is leaking out to the body, and then we have this autoimmune response as a result of that leaky gut. And 16 years ago, when I got diagnosed with my autoimmune illness, there was 100 diseases that were autoimmune related, and now there's over 200, which is really quite alarming. So as you could see, the carbohydrate component and then how that impacts the Candida balance in our body is super, super important, that we keep that in check and at a healthy level as possible. And again, through nutrition and through proper supplementation, you can get a hold of this beast so that it's not wreaking havoc on your body, on your immune system, and on your ability to be the best version of you, because you're amazing, and it's just a matter of time for your body to operate out of that amazingness. It's amazing how good our countenance and our confidence and all that become when we are really on the inside feeling how our bodies are designed to feel, and then how we can go out and be so much more fruitful in society to do what we're here for, right? To do all that we're supposed to be doing on this side of eternity. So it's really powerful and important that we take care of what's going on the inside, keep that cortisol hormone as low as possible, so that we're not increasing that belly fat, and making sure that we're taking care of our immune system, which is where our gut health is. So it's super important that we maintain all those C's to a healthy balance. So hopefully you found that helpful, and if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and you have a super blessed rest of your day.